Looking to take your sports knowledge to the next level? Just a fan of wrestling and entertainment? You're in the right place. Welcome to The Show with your hosts, Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of the show. We have with us, fresh off his appearance from Station 19 last night, Mr. Jeff Davis. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's talk about Station 19, episode 3 last night for season 3 of their series. You were on there last night, played a father on there who ultimately, we can get into some of it, but ultimately you pass away in the series. But how was just that overall appearance? I mean, let's talk, I guess, going back to when you guys recorded and did this episode.
Yeah, no, it was it's always good to be working, first off, and when you get a large guest star on a major network television show, it's even better. So when I booked it, I was, of course, very excited to be working, and it's a fairly new show, and I've done, it's a spinoff from Grey's Anatomy, and years ago I did an episode of Grey's Anatomy, and they had a spinoff called Private Practice. I did an episode of that. So this is my third show for that company, Shonda Rhimes and Company, Shondaland. So pretty excited, and a great cast. All the people there, they're young and fun and enjoying what they're doing, and they're just excited to have a third season. So they were all really, really just really great. And the only negative to the whole thing was I spent like 2 hours in makeup for a couple of the days for my chest, where the man, but then I don't think you ever even see it. They put these huge bruises, and I don't think it's ever even got seen. But no, it was a lot of fun.
Well, let's looking at some of that,
yeah.
How was taping that scene? I mean, you had a scene in there where you go to run back in to get your daughter's purse, I think was kind of that part of it. And a manhole cover blows up on you.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that scene? I mean, I'm assuming that was you doing that part of it, but obviously mixing in some Hollywood work there. How was that part?
It was good. There was actually, they had a stunt guy hooked to a crane, and they yanked him back into the car, and he smashes into the car. So they did do a stunt. Then my part was I run in front of the same place, and I just kind of threw myself back. And when they put it all together, it actually looked pretty real.
Oh, that's cool. It did. I mean, I literally have it playing in the background right now of when you first get, when they first see you on there, they come running in, and you're there with your daughter.
Yeah. I was
with it.
That was. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, that was my daughter has just been injured. So, and my character, we've been estranged for 20 years. So I'm just getting back into her life. So when she, passes out and hits her head, of course, I'm kind of shaken up over it, not sure what's wrong with her. So it was, it was before we knew that it was a carbon monoxide. So, it was, I got to play it a little bit emotional, and, got to help her get her, so it was, interesting.
When you do a role like that, where, you come in knowing it's going to be this one-off type episode, how much background do they give you for your character on that? Or are you able to develop some of those extra pieces to be able to pull from?
Yeah, with this one here, I mean, just what you saw was the only thing they gave me. I mean, there was a script. It didn't, I think in a show like this, the background work is all on the main characters. Unless there's unless this guy's a murderer or, something like that, they don't give you much of a backstory. It's basically just a character, and you're there to help keep their story moving. So any backstory pretty much I mean, this one had some backstory because it was actually in the dialogue,
Okay.
as far as where that we had been estranged, and I was just getting, because that was part of the story. The story was here I am, and I was trying so hard to get her to accept me. And when she's, I don't know if you remember, when I jump out of the truck, she says to the paramedic, she's like, yeah, he thinks by calling me sweetie and offered me, paying for my wedding, that I'll forget the last 20 years.
Right.
Then I get nailed with that manhole, and she's like, oh my God, I didn't give him a chance. So that was all part of the storyline. So there was some, so we had a little bit of a backstory there, but yeah, it's basically, you just go in and you do your work, and hopefully it all meshes.
How is doing like a medical part like that? I mean, you mentioned you did part of Grey's Anatomy. You did a private practice episode.
Yeah.
How are some of the medical aspects here? Because when they get you into the ambulance after,
Yeah.
I mean, they're putting tubes down your throat and all this, and some of that obviously is the Hollywood effect there. But
Right.
how does that wind up working out where everything's
I've had a couple
flowed together? And
yeah, well, they've got techs on the scene that are actual nurses and such, and that actually make sure everything looks real and the right order and all that. They were sticking stuff in my mouth and taping stuff to my face and stuff. So, and pumping on my chest. They were really beating on the chest to try to make it look real. She kept saying, "Are you okay? You okay? If they're too hard, let me know, and I'll tell them to back off." So they try to make it look as real as possible. I did an episode of Code Black. I don't know if you remember that show.
yeah,
I think it's still on. I think it was the first season, second or third episode, where I get rushed into the hospital there, and they cut my chest open. You see my heart beating in, as my whole chest is laid open. And that one, they had an ultrasound going on me, and so it's part of the part of the pretend, make pretend, so to speak. But it actually helps. The more real they make it, the better. So they've got all the real equipment, all the best equipment, and all the technicians there to make sure that they are making it look real. So it's kind of cool. It helps to bring it all together. It helps as an actor that all that's going on, because it helps keep you in the moment.
The show with your hosts Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk. We'll be right back.
looking for a sign in your life? Here it is. Sign, your spiritual indicator for growth, is now the spiritual podcast everyone is talking about. Check it out on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcast.
Back to the show. Here's your hosts, Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk.
Did you get the chance to ask Sonda Rhimes and them, like, is there a character they can bring you in on where they don't have to kill you off?
No, I wish. No, on Grey's Anatomy. On Grey's Anatomy, I was actually an army officer who I don't know if you ever watched Grey's, but young guy. What's his name? Was it TJ? What was the young guy that left the show? He ends up getting hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Well, I was the last guy he seen. I was the last person he's seen with. I was the recruiting officer that he decides to go into the army, and I give him his papers and shake his hand, and that's the last time you see him. So that was just a one-off there. And then private practice, again, I was a dad. My daughter was dying and she wanted to have a baby. So that was the whole episode there. So it was a good, kind of like this one. It was a long episode. I didn't get killed, but it was more about her. I was, her mom and I were just there in support, trying to help her along. She was going to do but no, you don't get a chance to talk to Shonda Rhimes. wasn't there, and the casting directors, luckily, they bring me in for a lot of different things. It's a good, once you get in with a casting director like that, like she's had other shows that I've read for, never got lucky enough to book one, but How to Get Away with Murder I've read for a few times, and a couple of her other shows. So it's just, hopefully I did a good enough job so that they'll bring me in on something else. She's got other shows, and the casting people do other shows. So you just, you don't ask too many questions. You just go in and do your work.
How work-wise, I mean, how's that been? Let me try that again without stumbling. How has it been kind of received on your end from like friends, family, and everything being back on?
I'm not sure what you mean. You mean as far as what the other night?
Yeah, like with like last night's episode being
Yeah,
able
no,
to get back at.
people. Oh, I mean, I got a lot of phone calls and emails and texts from people I hadn't seen in years that just happened to stumble upon it and spotted me. They were pretty excited back home, and guys I grew up with and stuff. So that's always nice. They realize, because a lot of the stuff you do stuff and people don't see it, so they know I'm out here. I've been out here for 20-some years, and they're like, I don't know what he's doing out there. I never see him in anything. So when they do, it's exciting, I guess. But I mean, I work pretty steady. I've done 60, 70 films and TV shows and another 50 commercials or so. So I've been busy, but we don't see everything that someone does, and unless it is a series regular or recurring on something, it's hard for people to catch it. But no, everyone's been really supportive. I got a great family and a great support group, as far as friends and family and fans that follow me on social media. So they're all very supportive.
Let's kind of talk what's new and upcoming, and where can people be able to see it in the upcoming?
Well, I've got a couple things coming out this year that I already shot. There's a TV show called 13 Reasons Why.
Sounds very familiar.
I think it's on Netflix. It was real controversial the first season because
they dealt with
suicide.
Yeah, I watched that show. That's a good show.
Yeah, it's about high school kids. I believe this is their last season, and I'm in like the next to the last episode. So I'm not sure when it starts coming, when it's going to be on. But I got a nice little role as a police captain on that. I can't tell much about it because I don't want to give anything away. And then there's a show called Ratchet, which is a prequel series that's based on Nurse Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I shot an episode of that also as a police captain. And that, I believe, is going to start airing next September, I believe, or next fall sometime. So I could definitely have those two coming up. And besides that, I'm working on a horror film that I've been working on for a while now that I think it's going to come to fruition. I'm going to be directing and acting in it. It's called The Demons Within. And we're going to shoot that in Northwest Ohio. And right now we're still in the funding stages, but it looks like it's starting to come together. So I'm hopeful.
That sounds good. And I know you have set up a Pulp Culture Con appearance tomorrow, correct?
Oh yes, I guess I should be talking about that. Yes, yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to be out in Victorville at the San Bernardino County Fairgrounds, at the Jay Zomon Pop Culture Expo, and we'll be set up there, and I'll have some headshots to autograph and some comic books of my restitution. The Legend of Cordell Pierce is a Western that I'm also having the works, but I've got a comic book. And we'll be talking to people and hopefully taking some pictures and just having a good time. Hopefully we get a good turnout.
Well, Jeff, thank you for joining us. Truly, it was awesome to be able to watch that episode last night and be like, I've talked to him.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm glad you actually saw it. Yeah,
well,
and if something else comes along and you want to talk, feel free to reach out. I'm here.
Oh, by far, and we'll definitely try to do something after 13 Reasons Why. That will be another good one that I watched that series, so it'll be a good show to kind of be able to follow back up with. But thank you very much, and thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for being on our TV.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Show with Hollywood JDT and Stuntman Kirk. Want to stay in the know on all things sports, wrestling, movies, and TV? Follow the show on social media at The Show Podcast. If you like today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on The Show.